have I told the story? I met Brian actually wrestling him in a Holiday Inn lobby in Memphis.
No. I would love to hear this. Because I don't know you as a wrestler. So
well, I wasn't. That's the thing. I wasn't even in the business yet. The Wrestling Fans International Association convention in 1979 headed to Memphis, Tennessee. It was a group of fans that belonged from all over the country. It wasn't a huge group. Probably 80 or 100 people would come to these conventions tops with everybody. But they would go to a different territory every year and see several shows and go to the TV and give an awards banquet. And the Wrestling News folks sponsored it. Norm Keitzer was big on it, Jim Melby. And at any rate, in 1979, it was in Memphis. And I went down to take pictures, and that's where I met Brian. And a group, we came back in from a show one of the nights, and a group was sitting talking in the lobby of the Holiday Inn, and Brian at the time had started training with Dom DiNucci, and we were just both like 18 or 19, and had actually wrestled on a couple of the independent shows in West Virginia, which we didn't have those in Kentucky. It was the Poffos were running opposition, or it was Jarrett Wrestling in Kentucky and Tennessee. You didn't see independent or outlaw shows that much in those days. So I was like, wow, he's wrestled. No. Brian was a great guy. We hit it off talking, but him and a few of the other guys, and eventually we start doing half-ass high spots in the hotel lobby. It's like 2 o'clock in the morning. And he says, pick me up for a slam. I'm like, what the fuck? It's a slam. I put him down easy, but anyway, we're just fucking around. But we traded numbers, and then he would come down. He was going to the University of Dayton at the time, even though he was from Pittsburgh, and he would come down to Cincinnati to see the Crockett matches, Mid-Atlantic Wrestling, when they opened Cincinnati up in like 1981. And he'd bring Dr. Creep and his mobile mortuary, the Channel 22 Dayton horror movie host, down. And I'd, me and Kenny Boland would come up, or Norm Dooley from Louisville, and we'd all get together. And I just stayed in touch with Brian, all those years. And he was a great fan. He was a great photographer. He ended up being a manager for quite some time because he just wasn't big enough to be a wrestler, especially back in those days. He was not a natural great promo. Unfortunately, that's the thing, is being a manager probably was his least of his talents, but he ended up being a great referee, obviously. He was an excellent wrestler. I did wrestle him many times later in front of people when he had a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle outfit on Smoky Mountain spot shows. It was Jim Cornette versus Cowabunga the Turtle. As a matter of fact, I even worked with him a singles match. Dennis Corlew, this match headlined more places than Bobo Brazil and the Sheik, because Dennis Corlew booked us to do it in New Jersey. I had it on the Smoky Mountain shows. Bobby Fulton had us do it in his hometown of actually near his hometown, in a show where he ran in Circleville, Ohio. And that was the greatest spot of all time, because imagine he's wearing a turtle outfit complete with a head and a shell, right?
Yeah.
And it's all lime green. And Brian was a great worker. I mean, his drop kicks, his arm drags, he was athletic, boom, boom, boom. But I was having the typical, manager working match. But he was so light, he only weighed 145 pounds, I could actually slam him. I picked him up and slammed him. And because I slammed him on his shell, he just kicked his arms and legs in the air. He couldn't get off his shell.
I have to ask, was that intentional, or did that just end up becoming?
No, he was doing it on purpose. Yeah, he was being a turtle, right? He was
wonderful.
He was into the gimmick. But we used to ride together in Knoxville, and he was my right-hand man. He did the merchandise, and his father for years, actually, that's where some of the Smoky Mountain bootlegs come from, because his father would come down and videotape every show that he was a part of. So I was able to get VHS tapes of some of the shows at least, and not have to pay to have a camera there. But we called him various nicknames. One was Shooter Hildebrand, because a fan hit the ring one night and he took the guy down before the boys got to him. I think he did it in WCW too. Same thing. We called him Hilda Muffin because he had the beard and the mustache and the curly hair, and he looked so soft. He looked like a muffin. So we called him Hildy Muffin. But he was just, you can't say enough about Brian. He was always there to help and always worked hard and loved the wrestling business. Obviously, when he passed away, everybody felt it.